Hey, it's me, Tammy B, and I am here today to do a review for the haves and the have-nots. Okay, so this is season 3, episode 19, titled Quincy Jr. First I want to say, you guys know what's up. Go ahead, give me the thumbs up, and if you haven't, please subscribe to my channel. You can also check me out on Twitter at TammyB_. That's TAMIB_. All right, and my Facebook page is It's Me, Tammy B. So, the episode starts where it left off. Benny brought Quincy Jr. to Hannah's house, and Hannah's all shocked and flabbergasted that she's seen the baby. So she goes to give him a hug, and when she goes to give Quincy Jr. a hug, he winces or tenses up. So they go ahead and look at his back, and they see that he has bruises and cuts, and the cuts are infected. So they decide to take the baby to the hospital. Hannah runs in the room low key just to kind of cry and pray a little bit, which is understandable because that is hard. When I saw the bruise, I mean, maybe this is bad. When I saw the bruise, I was like, okay, that's not that bad because sometimes children bruise easily. But then when I saw the cuts, I was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? So they decided to take the baby to the hospital. Now, I was in agreement with Benny, like instantly. I mean, obviously, as a parent or, just anybody in the medical field, when you see something, you're like, oh my gosh, let's go to the hospital. But I kind of understood where Benny was coming from when he was like, wait, hold on. Like, we just, first of all, just kidnapped this baby low key, and do we want to take him to the hospital? Because number one, we'll have to explain how we got the baby, and number two, they may think we did it. So I mean, you do have to be really careful with infections, because there's people who has died in less than 24 hours from a staph infection. So I understand Hannah wanting to go to the hospital to treat the baby, but I do understand Benny like, hey, can we call the pharmacist around the corner? Like, so I was totally with Benny, because that was my first thought. I would have been like, I would have probably called Catherine and be like, hey, can you send one of your rich doctors around by my house to check on my grandson? Because, yeah, I would have waited until, I mean, I know it's dangerous to wait with an infection, but, yeah, I definitely would have waited, just considering that, we don't know where the mom is right now. The daddy's crazy, so I would have kind of waited. But hey, I know when you see injury, you like, okay, I need to get this fixed. So they go ahead and go to the hospital. When they get to the hospital, just like what we thought, Child Protective Services are there, and they're like, who did this? We're keeping the baby. Where are the parents? You can't see the baby. So instantly that's what happened. So unfortunately, they are now involved with Child Protective Services, so we'll see how all of this unfolds. So meanwhile, Candace, she's in New York with Oscar, and I still don't 100% trust Oscar just yet, but we'll see. So Oscar tries to get all deep with her, asking her, has she ever been held, such and such, with her father. And Candace is like, not here for it. She's like, let's just have sex. I don't want to talk about that. And he's like, no, you said you never been held. Let's just lie here and talk. And she's just not really here for it. But then he kind of calms her down. Was like, stop fighting me. It's okay to show emotions. And, let me know what's going on in your head. Now, like I said, since I don't 100% trust Oscar, part of me is like, no, don't tell him anything. But when you are scorned like Candace appears to be, you do need to talk that stuff out. You do need to find out what is the root of your anger, what is the root of your problems, so that you can fix it. She has all this money now, and even though she got it in a not so good of a way, she does have the ability to change her life, her child's life, her family's life. But you can't do that with so much filth inside of you. You know what I'm saying? So she does kind of need to get some of that out. But right now, Oscar just may or may not be that person that she needs to do that with. And so, as I mentioned, Benny and them are at the hospital with her son, but she doesn't know all of this because, number one, she's on this date with Oscar, and then number two, apparently her phone fell in the bathtub, so it's not working. So she orders a bowl of rice. Now, I've seen this on Facebook that when your phone drops in water, you are supposed to put it in a bowl of rice, and the rice is supposed to suck out the moisture, and then the phone should work. But when I saw it, you're supposed to take the phone apart, like take the battery out, take the just take it all apart and put it in there. But she just put the phone in there, and the next day it ended up working. Like, next thing you know, her phone was ringing in the bowl of rice. So I don't really know if it really does work, or if the way she did it, you know, that was the right way. But whatever, for TV's sake, it ended up working. So her phone ended up ringing. So she ended up getting a hold of, or Quincy ended up getting a hold of her. But before I go into that, I just want to do this one scene where Jeffrey goes to his old apartment. And I was wondering what happened to his apartment, because he's been staying in the hotel. But I know, like, Quincy had ransacked it, and he was kind of on the run from Quincy. And then he went to go stay in the hotel. But I'm like, what made him go to the apartment today? You know, did he just think it was okay now because he ain't heard from Quincy or nothing? But he just showed up at his apartment, tried to unlock the door. The doors were locked. And then next thing you know, Melissa opened the door. And he was like, what are you doing in my apartment? She was like, this is my apartment now. So come to find out, Veronica, I guess, gave Melissa the apartment and just told her, like, hey, this is your apartment now. I guess Jeffrey either need to move in with you and get with the program, or, you know, or something else. So she redecorated. Her decorations weren't that nice to me. I'm like, I know she gave you a lot of money, so I really wasn't here for those decorations. Those old French velvet chairs, and I don't know. But so she let Melissa let, oh gosh, I can't think of the son's name. So Melissa let the son know, like, look, your mom said we either gonna get together, get married. She actually put our wedding invitation in the paper already. So you either get with it or not. She was like, yeah, I'm gonna admit, your mother has me, and I love my family, so I'm doing what she say do. So you either get with it or not. And he was like, I'm not doing this. I don't want to have a baby this way, and I'm not doing this. And so Melissa finally was like, okay, what's the deal? Look, I understand with me, she got my daddy all sick and playing and stuff, but why are you letting her do this to you? And then I guess he said something like, I'm not, and he just walked out. So we'll see what happens between Melissa and Jeffrey. Also, another thing in the meantime, as we know, Wyatt's in jail. So Jim and Catherine go to visit Wyatt. And it was so funny because, you know, he keeps saying, my name's not Norman, it's Wyatt, because they have him in there under Norman. So he had a visitor. He was like, yeah, I guess I am Norman today. And it was kind of sad. I don't know if it... I kind of wanted Wyatt to get his butt whooped because he'd been so defiant, but at the same time, you know, it is sad to see people cry sometimes. So anyway, Jim and Catherine visit him, and they are kind of just trying to get a feel. Like, did he learn his lesson? Did he recognize that, hey, no, we're not condoning murder, but you did do something bad, and we tried to cover it up, and now you're turning your back on us. You're telling the DA what really happened after we tried to cover it up, and so this is what's going to happen when you tell the DA everything for real. Like, you're gonna go to jail, you're gonna go to prison. So here's your week in prison, and you let us know how it goes. So he all crying because he already almost got fake raped, and people trying to beat him up, and then people know that he, you know, hit a little girl. So all the prisoners, you know, that whole honor amongst thieves thing. So even though they're all in jail, people want to beat him up because he killed a child. So he's been in there maybe a couple days. You can't really tell. And so Jim is like, they're just kind of feeling him out. And Wyatt keeps talking to the mom like, Mom, get me out of here. I'm sorry. I apologize. And I believed him. I do kind of think he learned his lesson, because honestly, a week in prison when you're attempting to get beat up and raped every day, 7 days is a long time. So I kind of think he only needed 2 or 3 days, but we'll see. So Jim was like, oh, I don't think you learned your lesson enough just yet, so we're gonna leave you in there. So they leave, and he all crying and he all sad, like, don't leave me. So they leave, and then Jim and Catherine are talking in the car, and Catherine's like, all right, I think that's enough, let's go get him. And he was like, okay, hold on, like, yeah, I think it's enough too, but like, let's not give up too easily, because all his life, I guess, he's had easy punishments. That's why he feels so privileged, and that's why he acts how he acts in the first place. So Jim said he's gonna get him out by in the morning. Okay, So I guess after they go visit Wyatt, they go to the professor because now Candace told them the professor raped Amanda, and now Catherine has read Amanda's diary and see that the professor did in fact rape Amanda. So they go to the school and they park behind the professor's car. So the professor comes on out or whatever, and Jim and Catherine was standing there like triple OGs. Like they had them blocked in and they just standing there like, what? Oh, here we go. So Catherine said that too. She was like, oh, so this is the guy. And the professor is like, oh, I'm assuming you guys are concerned parents. I'm sorry if your child fell. Who's your child? And they were like, Amanda Cryer. So instantly the professor knew who they were talking about. They was like, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. And so they were like, okay, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But hey, what's the real deal? Like, did you rape my daughter? Da, 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 da. And then, so one funny line was, at first he wasn't telling the truth, but then they were pressing him. So then he was like, okay. He was talking to Jim. He was like, hey, I didn't know Candace was, or I didn't know Amanda was not in the business. And Catherine was like, what business? So instantly Jim kind of knew that he meant escort because Candace was an escort. That's how he met Candace. And then, Candace and Amanda were roommates. So, so he kind of trying to talk to Jim about that man to man. So the professor's like, can we talk in privacy? Catherine was like, I am his privacy. I was rolling. I was like, that's such a wife move. But anyway, so Jim wasn't having it. He put his hands on the professor's shoulder, and they know that Amanda stabbed him. So he like grimaced when he did that. So Jim was like, oh, okay, so it's true. Like, yeah, why you hurt right here? Is it because my daughter stabbed you? So anyway, Jim beat him up, socked him down, kicked him. It seemed like a few people were watching. And then Catherine was like, all right, that's enough. Not here or not like this. So they planned to get him, but they just, of course, it would be foolish to do it in broad daylight while you're running for governor. So Catherine was like, that's enough. So they walked to their car, and then when Jim opened the door, the car like busted him in the face. I was like, yeah, that was pretty good. So that was a cool little gangster scene from Catherine and Jim. And, them doing teamwork since their marriage is so crazy. Like, at least they were doing something together, even though it was something, technically illegal. So that was that scene. And so now let's go back to the hospital. Hannah and Benny go ahead and tell the child protective services lady, like, look, we've been looking for our brother or the son for years. We finally found him. When we found him at his sister's house. Here's the address. Like, what's going to happen now? And the lady's like, well, I can't release him to you because you guys are not the parents. And so Benny convinces her to at least let them see the baby. So Hannah gets to see the son, Quincy Jr. And he's just saying that, can she stay with her? La da 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 da. So Benny was like, look, you could tell by this that we're not the bad people. Please let us keep the son. And she was like, there's nothing that I can do. Can you try to get hold of his mama? So finally Candace's phone back working. So Benny calls her and she answers. So this is the first time Candace gets to see or talk to the son. So he's like, Mom, will you come get me for real? I haven't seen you in a long time. And so she lets Benny and the social worker know that, she's in New York and she is on the first flight out. Hold on, where that little glare is coming from. But, so boom. So Candace finally talked to the son, and at least she showed a little emotion. And so now Oscar is going to fuel the jet and get her back to the hospital ASAP. So we'll see what happens with that. Before Candace got the call, I guess Oscar went to go do his little business deal, and while he was gone, the room was full of roses, and it looks really nice. Rooms full of roses smell awesome, so I could just imagine that the room smelled really good. But what was silly was, I'm like, okay, so she was asleep, and then there was all roses on the bed and roses all on the room. I'm like, you in a whole different state with some guy you really don't know. Somebody really was able to come in the room, put roses on the bed, and you didn't wake up? Like, I thought you was too thug life for that. Like, you're supposed to be this baddie. Like, I can't see somebody coming into your hotel room without you knowing and even if it is only to put roses. So that part was a little like, And so the merger he was talking about actually did go through. Two companies merged, so the stock is just extremely high. And so he just proved or showed Candace that, hey, I know what I'm talking about. and this is how I'm rich and why I'm rich. So Candace asked him, if I would have gave you my $50,000 that I have in savings, how much would it been? And he said $480,000. I was like, wow, like that is over 100% increase, or over 100% profit. So I was like, man, I was like, that would have been a good deal to get over. It's not too often that stocks you get over 100% return. So that was pretty good. I was like, man, I wish that was real life and I was a part of it. So back to Wyatt. Wyatt goes back to his room after he visits his parents, and a new cellmate comes. And this cellmate, okay, so his last cellmate, even though the last cellmate was bullying him, he was somebody that Jim knew. So this cellmate, so apparently that cellmate got stabbed on the yard, so now they're giving him a new cellmate. So this cellmate is not in. So instantly he like, oh, you the one who hit that little girl. I've been waiting to get to you. And so he drags Wyatt off the bed, and it seems like he's going to, I guess he's going to rape him or something like that. And okay, so two things. Number one, from my understanding, they don't mix races in prison. And then number two, like, I know like it's a stereotype for gay people to be in, or not gay people, but for men in jail, or maybe women too, to have sex with each other. But I'm like, geez, like, every single person wants to rape somebody? Like, I don't think that's true. And I've talked to like at least 3 guys who've been to prison before, and from what they told me, like, you either have to be down with that and those people hang with each other, or yeah, there's some people who do get raped, but it's not like that, like every single cellmate is a raper, you know. So it was a little extreme on the raping part, but I could understand the fighting part, especially, you know, this cellmate is black, and the kid that he ran over is black. So I can understand that they want to beat up this white guy for, you know, running over a black child and getting away with it. I can understand that. But I was like, geez, everybody want to rape him? But, you know, he's cute and young and hot. So, hey, you know, I could see that too. But I just think that I was a little bit too extreme that everybody want to have sex with him. So we'll see what happens to Wyatt. Hopefully Jim get him out in time before something goes down too terrible. And honestly, that was pretty much it. A lot didn't happen in this episode, but it was just really, really good still. I mean, this is a great show. It's very interesting. I know it's a little soap opera-y for people, but it's a pretty good show. So the previews next week look really good. The DA is going to be talking to Veronica, and Veronica says something slick, and the DA like bucks up and like steps up on her. And I'm like, all right, Lisa. Well, you know, because she was, that's the girl from Coming to America, the wife. So her name was like Lisa McDowell. So I was like, all right, Lisa McDowell trying to buck up on Veronica. But I'm like, DAs don't really be trying to fight like that, even when people say real stuff. So that part didn't seem realistic. But the fact that Veronica is so mean, a lot of people want her to get beat up. So it would be cool if the DA did kind of slap her around a little bit. But I was like, all right, calm down, Lisa. Don't be trying to beat people up and lose your job over this one case. And then the other main part that they show is that that Candace makes it to the hospital and she sees the son. That's going to be interesting because I want to see her first reaction when she sees the son, because she hasn't seen him in years. So she sees the baby, and I guess the Child Protective Services lets her know that, hey, your mother has asked for custody. So Candace gives her mother the evil eye, and it's like, dun 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 dun, like what's gonna happen? So that's gonna be interesting. And at the end of the day, you know, Candace has a lot of money now, and you know, even though she's kind of out there, she may still be a good mother. It's just that she never had a chance to because she thought the son was dead all this time. But in Hannah's defense, I could understand her wanting custody because Hannah told Candace what? 2 days ago that Quincy brought your son over, and she ain't been doing nothing since then. I would have been in the yellow pages. I would have been riding around the hood. She called those thugs war and all of them when she needed help with Jim. Like, so why wouldn't you call the homies from the hood to help you find your son? Like, especially now that you know that you have real proof that he's alive. Like, so to me, it kind like I don't want to call anybody a bad mother, but it kind of seems like she wasn't as focused on getting the son as Hannah was. Like, once Hannah know, even Benny the one, she could have did the same thing Benny did. Not the whole part about Quincy, but riding around the hood. Like, Quincy used to be your man. You don't know where his family live? Like, soon as I found out my son was alive, I would have been riding around. I would have paid some spies. I would have did something. Like, Hannah even asked her homegirl last season, like, hey, if you ever see Quincy's family, can you let me know? Like, this whole time, Candace hasn't done any of that. She has this money now. She could have hired a private detective, but no. Instead, she twiddling on jets with some guy she met at the bar. She giving Benny money. Like, she could have did all of those simultaneously. Like, yeah, doing the auction, buying the stuff, buying the house, but she could have still been texting or have somebody drive or something. So it doesn't seem like she's made that much of an attempt to find the son since she got the real proof that he was alive. So I can understand Hannah thinking like, hey, maybe I should get custody of him. So we'll see how all of this plays out. So, all right, guys. So that was it. That was the review for the haves and the have-nots. So, all right. See you next time.